For decades, Boeing had one real rival, Airbus. That was a rivalry everyone understood. Two manufacturers, two massive supply chains, two companies that built most of the world's commercial jets. So when China began attracting serious attention inside the aviation industry, the tone changed. Not because it had built a better airplane. It hasn't. The COMAC C919 still relies on Western engines, Western avionics, and a support network that remains far behind Boeing and Airbus. On paper, that should make a limited threat. But that is not what is Boeing concerned, because the C919 is not the real story. It is a training platform. Every aircraft China delivers teaches it how to design, certify, manufacture, finance, and support commercial jets on its own. And one by one, the dependencies that once kept China behind begin to disappear. This is where the story turns. Because China is not just building an airplane, it is building the industrial system that could eventually compete with Boeing at every level. And if that system reaches full scale, commercial aviation may stop being a two-company industry. So the real question is not whether the C919 can match Boeing today. It is what happens when China no longer needs Boeing's industrial ecosystem at all. To understand why this matters, you have to start with the assumption that shaped commercial aviation for nearly 50 years. Boeing and Airbus were expected to compete with each other. Everyone else was too far behind. Building a modern airliner is one of the hardest industrial tasks in the world. Not because the wings are difficult to design, and not because the engines are powerful. Those are only the visible parts. The real challenge is everything underneath. Tens of thousands of certified components, specialized alloys, precision machining, flight software, maintenance networks, regulatory approval, and years of operational data proving that every system works exactly as intended. That is why Boeing and Airbus became so difficult to challenge. They were not just selling airplanes. They were selling industrial ecosystems built over decades. And for a long time, China was nowhere near that level. It could manufacture parts. It could assemble aircraft. But the most critical systems still came from abroad. Engines from CFM International, a joint venture between GE Aerospace and Safran. Avionics from Honeywell. Landing gear and flight systems from established Western suppliers. This created a comfortable assumption in the West. China might eventually build a respectable airplane, but it would remain dependent on foreign technology for the pieces that mattered most. That assumption shaped how Boeing viewed the threat. The concern was not that China would build a few domestic jets. The concern was that China might use those jets to learn. And that is exactly what happened when COMAC was created in 2008. At first, it looked like another state-backed aerospace project. Ambitious, politically important, but years away from real competition. What many observers missed was that Beijing was not simply launching a new airplane program. It was creating a national platform for industrial learning. And once that process began, the competition changed. The battle was no longer about who could design the best aircraft. It was about who could build the manufacturing system behind the next 1,000 aircraft. When COMAC launched the C919, many analysts treated it as a symbolic project, a source of national pride, a statement that China wanted to join the club, but not a serious challenge to Boeing or Airbus. That view was understandable. On paper, the aircraft looked heavily dependent on the very companies it was supposed to compete against. Its LEAP 1C engines came from CFM International. Its avionics included major Western systems. Many of its critical components were supplied by firms that had spent decades working with Boeing and Airbus, which raised an obvious question. If China still depended on foreign technology, what had really changed? The answer is more interesting than the airplane itself. The C919 gave China something it had never had before: a full-scale commercial aviation classroom. Every test flight generated data. Every certification milestone built regulatory experience. Every supplier relationship exposed how the global aerospace industry actually works. And every aircraft delivered to China Eastern turned theory into operational knowledge. That is the part many people underestimated. China did not need the C919 to outperform the 737 MAX. It needed the C919 to teach thousands of engineers, manufacturers, and regulators how to build the next generation with fewer foreign dependencies. And progress has become increasingly visible. The first flight took place in 2017. Chinese certification followed in 2022. Commercial service began in 2023. Then the pace accelerated. In 2024, Beijing injected tens of billions of yuan into COMAC and its supplier base. In 2025, production targets rose sharply. By 2026, Supply chain independence had become an explicit national objective. This is where the story starts to look very different. The C919 is not the finished product. It is the platform China is using to reduce dependence on the West one subsystem at a time. And with every aircraft that enters service, Boeing is not just facing a new competitor. It is watching a new industrial ecosystem learn how to stand on its own. By this point, the story is no longer about whether China can build a credible airplane. It is about whether Boeing can stop what comes next. And this is where China holds an advantage that neither Boeing nor Airbus can easily replicate. Demand. China is expected to account for roughly 1/5 of global aircraft demand over the next 2 decades. That means thousands of narrow-body jets, thousands of deliveries, and thousands of opportunities to improve. Most new aircraft manufacturers face the same problem. Even if they build a competitive product, airlines hesitate to buy it. Without orders, production stays low. Without production, quality improves slowly. And without operational experience, the support network never matures. It is one of the hardest cycles in aerospace to break. China does not face that problem in the same way. Its domestic airlines are expanding. Its government controls regulators, state-owned banks, and many of the country's largest carriers. And Beijing has the ability to direct long-term support toward a single strategic goal. That changes economics completely. There is an important historical parallel here. When Airbus was created in the 1970s, many American observers dismissed it. The company relied on political support, coordinated European investment, and a protected base of launch customers. Over time, that support gave Airbus the scale and experience needed to challenge Boeing directly. China is attempting something similar, but on an even larger scale. The difference is that China's domestic market is far bigger, and the state has far more direct control over how capital, regulators, suppliers, and airlines align. COMAC does not need to win the global market immediately. It needs time. Time to deliver aircraft. Time to collect operational data. Time to replace imported systems with domestic alternatives. And time to build confidence across the supply chain. This is where the C919 becomes far more significant than it first appears. Each delivery trains mechanics. Each maintenance cycle reveals reliability issues. Each supplier contract exposes which components still depend on foreign technology. Each manufacturing batch uncovers bottlenecks and quality problems. And each solved problem makes the next aircraft easier to build. The process is gradual, but that is exactly what makes it powerful. Industrial capability rarely changes overnight. It accumulates. One production line, one supplier, one certification milestone at a time. Then something important happens. Experience compounds. Costs begin to fall. Suppliers become more capable. And improvements that once took years start arriving faster. That is the threshold Boeing is watching closely. Because Boeing's strength is always dependent on experience built over generations. China is now trying to compress that learning curve using the world's largest protected aviation market. If it works, the advantage shifts. Not necessarily to the company with the best airplane, but to the country that can guarantee demand while improving with every aircraft it produces. And that is a very different kind of competitor. Because once a manufacturer can rely on thousands of domestic orders, it no longer needs to prove itself all at once. It only needs to keep getting better. And this is the point where Boeing's challenge stops being technological. It becomes structural. If China had launched this effort while Boeing was operating at full strength, the threat would still be serious. But the timing could hardly be worse for Boeing, because while China was building an industrial system from the ground up, Boeing was struggling to stabilize the one it already had. The problems were not limited to one aircraft. They were systemic. The 737 MAX crisis exposed deep flaws in engineering oversight and certification. Production delays spread across multiple programs. Suppliers faced labor shortages and parts constraints. And in early 2024, the Alaska Airlines door plug blowout brought manufacturing quality back under intense public scrutiny. That incident did more than damage Boeing's reputation. It reminded the entire industry how fragile large aerospace production systems can become when even small failures escape the factory. What makes this especially difficult is that aerospace supply chains do not recover quickly. A modern commercial aircraft depends on millions of parts, but many of the most critical systems come from a surprisingly small group of highly specialized suppliers. Forged titanium structures, flight control systems, composite materials, precision-machined engine components. Many of these suppliers spend years earning certification approval before their parts ever reach an aircraft. Replacing them is not simple. Every new component must be tested. Every manufacturing process must be validated, and every change must satisfy regulators responsible for certifying the aircraft itself. That process can take years, which means experience matters just as much as engineering. A supplier that has delivered reliable components for decades becomes part of the aircraft's institutional memory. When that supplier struggles, the effects spread quickly. One delayed engine casting can slow production. One missing structural component can halt final assembly. One quality issue can trigger inspections across an entire fleet. This is why aerospace manufacturing is so difficult to scale and so difficult to repair once confidence starts weakening. And this is where the contrast with China becomes hard to ignore. Boeing is trying to restore confidence while satisfying regulators, airlines, suppliers, and shareholders. Each group has different priorities. Each imposes constraints. And every disruption slows recovery. China operates differently. COMAC does not answer to quarterly earnings. It can accept delays. It can absorb losses. And it can continue investing even when the immediate commercial return is uncertain. That does not guarantee success. State-backed programs can be inefficient. Technical problems can take years to solve. And the C919 still depends on Western systems in critical areas. But Beijing is solving a different problem. It is not trying to maximize near-term profit. It is trying to reduce strategic dependence. That changes how decisions are made, how capital is allocated, and how long the program can continue before outside observers see clear results. This is what makes the current moment so consequential. Boeing is focused on repairing a strained industrial base. China is focused on building a new one. And if both trends continue, Boeing may find itself facing a competitor that learned to scale just as Boeing was trying to regain control of its own manufacturing system. At this point, the C919 itself starts to look almost secondary. Yes, it matters. It carries up to around 190 passengers. It competes directly with the Boeing 737 MAX and Airbus A320neo, and it marks China's first serious entry into the narrow-body market. But the airplane is only the visible part. The larger story is the system growing behind it, a system designed to design, build, certify, and finance aircraft, and eventually support entire fleets without relying on the West. That is why this matters far beyond one program. Commercial aviation has long been one of the most difficult industries to enter. The barriers are not just technical, they are institutional. Trust, certification, supplier coordination, operational experience, and the ability to deliver hundreds of aircraft reliably over many years. Boeing and Airbus spent decades building those capabilities. China is trying to compress that process into a single national project. The outcome is still uncertain. The CJ1000A engine remains under development. The C919 has not yet been certified by the FAA or ESA, and scaling production to Boeing and Airbus levels will take years. That is the idea, but there's a problem. China does not need to surpass Boeing immediately. It only needs to keep removing one dependency after another. One engine, one avionics system, one material supplier, one certification milestone at a time. If that continues, the global aviation industry may stop being defined by two Western manufacturers competing with each other. It may become a three-company industry shaped by a country that uses domestic market to build an aerospace ecosystem of its own. And that is what is Boeing paying attention. Not because China has already built a better airplane, but because it is building something far harder to match. An industrial system that gets stronger every time another C919 leaves a factory.